This is Hayes Q Jones, your DVD and Blu-ray baller on a budget, and this is HQ Videos for you. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Please like, share, subscribe. If you're a current subscriber, what's up? You greatly appreciate it. Come on in, make yourself at home. For this week's collections video, I'm doing action films from the 70s. These are the action films I grew up on watching on television, ABC, CBS, NBC, usually on the maybe the weekly movie of the night for that channel, or maybe on Saturday or Sunday during the matinees, wherever they showed on television. So great list of movies. Might be surprised at some of my picks. So without further ado, sit back, relax, have a drink, have a smoke, and I'll catch you on the other end of this video. We're back at the Black Cave. Back at the Black Cave. We are back at the motherfucking Black Cave. I'm going to just jump into it with my best action films from the 1970s. We have 1974's Foxy Brown, action, adventure, crime thriller movie. This was directed and written by Jack Hill, produced by Buzz Feinshands, starring Pam Grier, Antonio Fargas. If you ever watched Starsky and Hutch, he was Huggy Bear. Peter Brown, Terry Carter, and Catherine Loder. And essentially, Foxy Brown takes a job as a, let's just say, escort to get revenge on the mobsters who wronged her. If you haven't seen this, I don't want to give too much away. And I want to start out with Foxy Brown because the rest of the list seems pretty testosterone heavy, I'll put it that way. Mostly, well, all guys though. So I want to put a little estrogen as far as action movies. Plus, I was a kid of the 70s, and growing up, most of the action heroes, Humphrey Bogart, James Cagney, then the 70s, Burt Reynolds, Steve McQueen, in the 80s, Arnold Schwarzenegger, so far and so on though. You knew of a lot of guy action heroes, but it wasn't a lot of female action. The only tough females I can remember back then was Angie Dickinson, who played in a television show, I think Policewoman, and Foxy Brown. And not only were they attractive and sexy, they also came off as very tough. So my number 6 pick for best action films of the 70s, Foxy Brown. My number 5 pick is the action-adventure crime drama, Gone in 60 Seconds. This was directed, produced, and written, also starring H.B. Halicki, Marion Busia, Jerry Dargerta, James McIntyre, and George Cole. And you may have seen the remake with Nicolas Cage. If you're not familiar with it, essentially a car thief is tasked with stealing, in this one, 48 cars in a short period of time, with emphasis on this one specific car. It's a Mustang that they refer to as Eleanor. And what's really special about this, amazing chase scenes, but this is before CGI and all that stuff. And in the beginning, they have an intro, and in the intro, they're saying how if there was a policeman driving, that was a real policeman. If there was a bus driver, it was a real bus driver. If there were pedestrians running in fear, it was real pedestrians running in fear. It was that real, that raw. And if you compare the original to the remake looks sharper. It's a higher budget, but for something in the 70s, this is gold. I can only imagine. I didn't see this till the 2000s when after I saw the remake with Nicolas Cage though. But if you can imagine being in the theater seeing those kind of chase scenes, high paced car scenes back in that day, it had to be somewhat epic. So my number 5 pick, Gone in 60 Seconds, the original classic. And this is Mill Creek, by the way, Foxy Brown, Olive Films. My number 4 pick, this is the 1972 action crime thriller, The Getaway, directed by Sam Peckinpah, produced by Mitchell Brower, written by Walter Hill, starring the King of Cool himself, Steve McQueen, starring Ally McGraw, and I'll get into her in a second, Ben Johnson, Sally Struthers, you might know Sally Struthers from All in the Family, Archie Bunker's daughter, and Elle Lettieri. And essentially with this story, you have Steve McQueen and his wife on the run from a bank heist. And again, I don't like to get into too many details. I don't like to give spoilers if you haven't seen the movie, though. This is a Warner Brother production. First of all, Steve McQueen, to me, for that time, is the king of cool. In my opinion, he is like the American version of James Bond, specifically if you've seen the movie Thomas Crown Royal Affair. He's not the pretty boy like Paul Newman and Robert Redford of the day. He's just kind of this raw, average-looking guy, but he had the swag. He and Ally McGraw were actually married, I think, for 5 or 8 years, something like that. Never had children, though, but I think they both were the love of each other's lives. He was 12 years older than her. But it was just fast action, great car chases, plus you have the great chemistry between Steve McQueen and Ally McGraw. Just a really good action movie from the 70s. So if you haven't seen this, or if you haven't seen any Steve McQueen movies, The Getaway or the Thomas Crown Royal Affair, I would say start out with those. So my number 4 pick, Warner Brothers, The Getaway. My number 3 pick is the 1979 action adventure science fiction thriller, Mad Max. This is directed by George Miller. I believe he did a lot of the zombie movies. Produced by Brian Kennedy. Written by James McCausland. This stars Mel Gibson, Jonah Samuel, Hugh Keays-Byrne, Steve Beasley, and Tim Burns. And you have Mel Gibson as this, first of all, it takes place in an apocalyptic future. They don't specify, but I'm assuming it's over in Australia somewhere. He's a police officer, and essentially they have these rogue gangs that just run rapid through towns looking for gasoline, women, or whatever they can pillage and steal. I think this is probably my first introduction to Mel Gibson. This is just a raw, gritty, action-packed, debaucherous type of movie. Very bizarre characters in there, but again, it's post-apocalyptic. Mel Gibson with I'll give him props, whatever you feel about him, especially as a young guy. He definitely had the swag. The Aussie accent definitely helped. Because this is a low-budget movie, and I think one of his first movies, everyone has this really thick Australian accent, so some of the vocals are somewhat, if you're not familiar with that type of dialect, hard to disseminate or to understand sometimes, though. But still a great movie, such a great movie that it spawned Road Warrior, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. Now you have the whole new series with Mad Max Furioso. So great movie, great start to the 70s franchise of Mad Max. Mad Max, Mel Gibson, 1979, my number 3 pick. My number 2 pick is the action crime thriller 1971's Dirty Harry. Directed by Don Siegel, produced by Robert Daly, written by Harry Julian Fink, starring Clint Eastwood, Harry Giardo, Renee Santoni, John Vernon, and Andrew Robinson. And essentially you have this psycho criminal Scorpio that's terrorizing San Francisco. And you have Clint Eastwood playing Callahan. This is really kind of rogue cop with this huge magnum gun that just terrorizes criminals. And in my opinion, this is the movie that birthed a lot of vigilantism. Just people wanted to get a huge gun and just start terrorizing people. But this actually birthed a few movies after this: Magnum Force, Dirty Harry, and there might have been one or two other movies after that. But really fun, action-filled crime thriller, which is a lot different than the crime action pictures from the 80s. This is a little bit more down to earth, not so much, explosions and all that, though, just hardcore, gun in your face, shooting people. So my number 2 pick, Dirty Harry. By the way, I got the 2 different copies here. I think this is from this set, and I think another one's from another Clint Eastwood set. So, Dirty Harry. And my number 1 pick for action movies from the 70s. This is the 1973 action crime drama foreign martial arts special interest thriller movie, Enter the Dragon. Directed by Robert Clouse, produced by Raymond Chow, and written by Michael Allen. I believe Raymond Chow is the owner over Golden Harvest, which again does a lot of the martial artist movies. This stars the legendary Bruce Lee, John Saxon, Jim Kelly, Anna Capri, and Kine Chi. Essentially a martial artist, Bruce Lee, who agrees to be a spy on this reclusive island with this crime lord investigating this tournament that he has. And for my generation, at least for Generation X, this is probably their first introduction to a big budget martial arts pictures. We always grew up with the Kung Fu Theater on Saturday with the mouths and the vocals not matching, the Crazy, where people are jumping out from the ground up in the trees, and you have the guy who's 100 years old beating everybody with one arm behind his back. This was more of the action with that 70s flavor. And of course, you just had outstanding martial arts. You had, of course, Bruce Lee. You have Sammo Hung in here. You actually have a small cameo with Jackie Chan. So this is your real introduction to real martial arts. And what I loved about Bruce Lee, he had an understanding of American culture. If you watch a lot of Jackie Chan or other martial artists, and they have Americans as pretty much stereotypes, especially minorities. So I remember, it might be a Jackie Chan movie, they had some Italians in there, and they had such stereotypes with the Italians, with the gaudy dress and all the jewelry and the way they talked. It was like, damn, I'm not even Italian, I'm offended. So Bruce Lee had a better understanding of American culture, and I think he let the actors be themselves. John Saxon was kind of like the cocky white guy. Jim Kelly was the cocky black guy, and it worked. And it really changed American culture as far as how they viewed martial artists. So, of course, after Bruce Lee, you had Jackie Chan, of course, Sammo Hung, Jet Li, Donnie Yen, and even other ones from not even necessarily Chinese. The guy who did Ong Bak, I can't think of his name right now. So this to me was such an iconic movie, and it birthed a whole new genre, martial arts movies, into the American culture. So these are my best action pictures from the 70s. If you made it this far, thank you, I appreciate it. But if you made it this far, smash the like. give me the big thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. Other than that, may the best of your past be the worst of your future. Everyone be safe. Deuces.